Welcome to GIMP Tutorials Speech Bubbles. It's been pointed out to me that in the last two videos I had accidentally said Blender tutorials, and I just wanted to assure you that we're still doing GIMP tutorials. Alright, so say I have this really awesome picture and I wanted to have speech bubbles of the piggy saying something. Well, there's a few ways to do it. So opening up GIMP, you go File, Open, then Desktop, and then my picture file. There we go. So first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to create a new layer for the speech bubble. I could just start editing on the picture layer, but that's generally it's nicer to have separate layers. So I'm going to create a new layer over here in the Layers tab. And I'm going to name it Speech Bubble. And by default, it's going to be my width of the entire picture, as well as the height. And by default, it'll be selected transparency for layer. I want all this. Okay. So now I have my speech bubble area. And even before I do this, I'll need to create a text layer. Oops. Selecting my text tool, I'm going to want the piggy saying something. Something like, I don't know, pizza tastes best when you are winning. Now, I'm going to select all my text. I'm going to select a font. I'm going to select a size, probably, well, I'm going to select a size, probably 32. And I'm pressing Tab. And I'm going to give it a color. Probably white. And I probably want it bigger, maybe 200. Whoa, 120. Okay, I think that size will be adequate. Now, there's many ways to do it. You can justify it by left aligned, or right aligned, or center aligned, or filled. This would be under the Settings tab. If you have the default layout when you use GIMP, the default layout, the Settings tab will be somewhere in this area, probably this tab here. You'll look in the Settings tab, and I'll probably center it. Okay, I like that. Now, I'm going to select the Move tool. Probably my only gripe with GIMP is that when you use the Select tool, by default, it will pick the layer or guide. This I always change to Move the Active Layer. So whatever layer I have highlighted, while using this tool, I'll be moving that layer. There we go. Now, I'm going to create a new layer for the speech bubble, or the speech box I'm going to create first, actually. I'm going to call it box. Now, I'm going to select the rectangle select tool, and then I'm going to select behind the font. And as a speech box, I kind of like rounded edges. So in my settings tab, I'm going to go rounded corners. And I'm going to, as I increase this here, it will create rounded corners for me. Right about there probably looks good. And I'm going to resize the box so it looks, and then I'm going to move the box so it's a little more center with the text. And then, now with the speech box selected in the layers tool, I can go into the bucket fill tool and I can put in a color here. And I'm going to put in white. And then I'm going to go back to my text font layer with my text tool. I'm going to reselect it all and change it back to probably black. Now, as you notice, you can't see it because the text layer is below the speech bubble. So I'm going to click and hold and move it above the speech bubble. And there we go. And this is still selected. So any work I try to do, it will try to do within the selection. So I'm going to go select none or Command Shift A. It'd be Control Shift A for Windows or Linux. I'm going to go back to my speech bubble. Then I'm going to select my free select tool. And I'm going to click somewhere within this box here. And I'm making sure that I'm still on the speech box text. Somewhere in here. And probably drag it out over here. And click again. Drag it in here. Click again. And then close off the select tool. And once again, I'm going to do the blanket fill. And I'm going to click in this area here. And then there we go. Command Shift A to select none. And we have a speech bubble. But personally, I like a border around my speech bubbles, and I like my speech bubbles to be slightly transparent. So to do this, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the fuzzy select tool, which will select based on color. Now I'm going to select the text box, and then I'm going to go Command X or Edit Cut to remove that color. Once again, I'm going to select the bucket fill. I'm going to make sure foreground color is selected and make sure my foreground is still white. And I'm going to scroll down to opacity. I'm going to move it down to about 80%. Maybe 70%. And then I'm going to use my bucket fill tool within the selection. And as you can see, it's slightly transparent. Now if you notice, this is still selected. So now what I can do is I can go select in the select menu, and I can go grow to create the border. So I probably want to increase it by maybe 9 pixels. And I'd click OK. Oh no, 9's too much. Edit, undo, grow, select, grow. Let's try 4. Yes, I like that. So I'm going to change my foreground color to black, and with the bucket tool, making sure I'm still have an opacity of 70. I'm going to select within this area here. And there we go. And then select none. And then with the pizza layer, this text layer here, I'm going to merge it down in the speech box. And there we go, one active layer. And then I can obviously export it, or I can save it as a GIMP working project. So now let's create a speech bubble. So I'm going to hide this layer, and I'm going to create a new layer, speech bubble. Now I'm going to select the ellipse select tool. Oh, actually first I'm going to do a text layer. And this time I'm going to just make it white right off the bat so I can see what I'm typing. And now I'm going to select the entire text, maybe 40 in size, and then tab, and change the font. Okay, yeah, 64. Then I'm going to resize. Notice how that the text alignment is still centered. This is important. If this will stay this way unless I either change it, or if I quit GIMP, it will automatically go back to align left. I'll also go with my movement tool. So with my movement tool, it'll still always be move the active layer, so long as I don't quit GIMP or change it. And then I'm going to go back to my speech bubble layer. I'm going to select the ellipse select, and I'm going to drag it about yay big. And once again move it so that my text is covered. Probably want it more over here actually. Yeah. Bucket fill, white background, 70% opacity. But this time, for a different demonstration, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to change this to black. So I'm going to Command X this, so I'm going to cut it. I'm going to make the border first. So I'm going to paste it in the circle. And then I'm going to go select. This time I'm going to shrink. And I'm going to make it probably 5. Okay. And then I'm going to Command X. And this time with the white paint, I'm going to select again. And you can see I can either shrink or grow to make the text borders. It's up to you how you want to do it. I'm going to select none. I'm going to grab the text layer. I'm going to move it so it's centered a bit. And then with my text tool, I'm going to select all. Change the color to something that's noticeable, black probably. And there we go. Now, what about thought bubbles? So I'm going to hide this. I'm going to create thought bubble layer. And this time I'm going to use my pencil. I'm going to zoom in. Actually, once again, I should actually probably create my text part first. Once again, I need to press tab when I'm in these areas. I find that's the best way to enter a change. So now with my pencil tool and with black, and I'll show you what I'll do. So on my thought bubble there, and making the size smaller, I'm going to create little thought bubbles. There we go. I'm just going to fill in these areas, but I'm going to make sure it's actually 100%. Because you can see it's still slightly transparent. There we go. And I actually probably want this one a little higher, so I'm going to select the select tool. I'm going to select that bubble. Command X, Command V to paste. And then I'm going to create a new layer for a temporary layer. Move it down below the text layer so it's above the thought bubble. And then I'm going to use my move tool and I'm going to move it up so that there's like about the same space between the thought bubbles. Now, when I merge this layer down, this specific layer down, it's going to inherit the name of the bottom layer. And since that's a proper name for it, that layer, that's fine. I'll merge down, and it still says thought bubble. Okay. Now, I'm going to use the fuzzy select tool. I'm going to select the first thought bubble, or cloud, second thought cloud, third thought cloud. And I didn't finish filling it in. So I'm just going to select none, grab my pencil tool. I'm going to hide this layer, and I can see where I did not fill in. There we go. I'm going to use my fuzzy select tool. Holding shift, I'm going to select the next one. And holding shift, I'm going to select this one. Then I'm going to go Command X. I'm going to use my my bucket tool, bucket fill. I'm going to change the opacity to 70 because I liked what that looked like. And then I'm going to fill in where it's selected. And you can notice that it will fill in all the selected areas. And then select shrink. 5 pixels sounds good. Command X or edit cut. And then I'm going to use the bucket tool and I'm going to use white. And there we go. Select none. Yeah, select none. I'm going to re-show my picture again. There we go. I'm going to go to my text layer and I'm going to change it to black. Click outside, click the text layer, merge down, and once again it's going to inherit the bottom layer's name, thought bubble. And there we go. That covers on how to create thought bubbles, speech bubbles, and speech boxes.